Hi, I'm Zorte, and you probably don't know me, but I'm an Ultimate Iron Man with way too much free time on my hands. Equipped with 2k total, over a billion items, and an opinion that nobody really asked for, I'm here to share my old school thoughts with anyone who will listen. Hey everyone, first of all, I lost my voice and it's just starting to come back, so apologies if I sound weird today. This was not a scheduled upload. I was intending to just release my unique Ultimate Iron Man Part 2 video this week, which is still coming, and that's going to be a super cool video, by the way. But I woke up this morning to see that there's a death change blog for UIMs, and it's proposing a very big update, so I want to go over that with all of you. Before we cover the proposed changes, let's talk about how existing UIM death mechanics work. There are kind of two pillars at play here, death banking and death piling. For death banking, you can die to a boss like Hespori, Zulra, Vorkath, or anywhere with an item retrieval service, and your items will be placed in temporary storage like this. These will stay forever unless you die again. So if you run around the game for 4 hours, or log out, disconnect, the server goes down, or the game updates, your items will stay here forever. If you happen to die while you are death banked, though, your items in the temporary storage will be completely deleted. This death bank system will not be affected by the proposed blog changes, but now let's get into the second pillar of UIM death mechanics that will be affected. Now we get to death piling. If I death pile, all of my items will drop to the ground. This includes my tradable and my untradable items. They'll stay there for exactly 60 minutes and only be visible to me and on the world that I died on. If I run around the game, that 60 minutes ticks down. If I log out or I disconnect, that 60 minutes also ticks down. Once the time reaches 0, my items will despawn. Now, if the server happens to disconnect, or a game update happens, all of these items will just be completely deleted. A couple other smaller notes about death piling. Unlike death banking, you can death pile as many times as you want to. Each pile gets a fresh 60-minute timer when you die. So if I go ahead and pick up a couple of security books here, and then I attack this white knight and he destroys me, and then I drop these two security books here, these two security books will get a fresh timer of 60 minutes before they despawn, but my original pile will continue ticking down from its original timestamp. So the new pile would have 60 minutes, and this first one might be down to 59 minutes. Lastly, death piles have an item limit. You can only have 255 items on the ground at once within, I think, an 8x8 tile area, but don't quote me on that tile size there. The point is, though, if you're holding a full inventory, looting bag, and have an item like the herb sack and seed box that are packed full, it's possible to die with more than 255 items. Do note that noted things, like say you have a stack of 9k noted brews, for example, that only counts as one item towards that 255. But if you do die with over 255 items, then the least expensive items out of those that you died with will be deleted until only 255 items remain. Okay, so I think that covers death piling. I know the system is very confusing and there's a lot of special cases that I went over, but I think that's good enough for us to move on to the proposed changes now. Alright, so here's the blog, and you can see that this update is aimed at solving the problem of UIMs losing all of their items because they death pile and then either disconnect and can't get back in time, the world server goes down, the game updates, or that weird 255 item limit thing happens that I talked about. The TLDR here is that they are proposing to keep death piling working the same way as it always has, except now the 60-minute timer that ticks down after you die will only go down if you're logged into the game. To be crystal clear, that means if you disconnect, log out, the server goes down, then that 60-minute timer will not tick down. So functionally, this change will not affect death metas at all for ultimates. This is literally just tackling the issue of unreliable internet or game worlds, which in my opinion should never be something that players have to plan around when they're playing the game. I can tell you from personal experience that these things do sadly happen. I know several cases of ultimates who either disconnected and weren't able to get back to their death pile in time, or an ultimate was death piled and they just got really unlucky and the server went down and all of their items were completely deleted as a result of that server instability. There are two small points that this will affect for the existing mechanics though. The first is that death piles will be visible on every world, not only the world that a UIM died on originally. And that's important because if a UIM death piles, then their client crashes, they might not know what world they were on, and depending on how much of that 60-minute timer was left, they might not have enough time to find the correct world before all of their items despawn. The second point is that the 255 item limit for death piles will be removed. So if a UIM dies with, say, 265 items, all of those items will drop to the ground instead of the cheapest 10 of those being deleted as would happen before. This is pretty rare, but it does happen, and in my opinion, it's very lame that items would be deleted just because the code for death piles under the hood doesn't have a high enough limit. And to clarify a point of confusion that I saw in the thread, you will still be able to have multiple death piles and they'll still get fresh 60-minute timers when you create a new death pile. Multiple death pile mechanics will not be changed at all by this update. So what do I think about this proposal? I think this is a no-brainer. These changes have absolutely no effect on UIM death metas. They're purely correcting for server instability and engine issues. Nobody, UIM or not, should have to worry about losing all of their progress because of a server problem. I don't see any reason at all that anyone should be against this. It's not making the game any easier, and it's not changing metas. This is the easiest yes vote I'll ever make in the polls, and I cannot wait for this to come to the game. That wraps up UIM News Episode 2, I guess. Please take a second to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Unique Ultimate Iron Man Episode 2 will be releasing this week, and you do not want to miss that. Go hug your mom and say something nice to somebody. Thank you for watching. I'll see you very soon.